Adam Cain, the alien with an attitude, has been rescued from a derelict alien spacecraft just ahead of being killed by the space pirates who attacked the vessel in open space. Now Adam, along with his two alien saviors, Kaylor and Jim, have come to the planet Nymer to register the salvage of the derelict starship. The paperwork went smoothly, but on the way back to the spaceport, Kaylor and Adam stop off at a local bar for a quick drink. And that's when Adam discovers a startling truth about what it's like to be a human in an alien universe. Adam and Kaylor left the ministry compound and headed back into the rustic, Old West town just as the sun was setting. Kaylor explained that they would take one of the wheeled transports back to the spaceport, but first he wanted to stop off at a tavern for a drink. Adam didn't resist, especially not after the day he was having. Along the street, Kaylor stopped at a doorway with a placard hung on a post, written in a scribble Adam couldn't even begin to decipher. The alien pulled open the door and quickly disappeared inside. Like a baby duckling, Adam followed. The interior of the bar carried such a foul odor that Adam nearly gagged as he stepped inside, which was a reaction he was coming to expect every time he came in contact with a new set of aliens. It's as if none of them had a sense of smell. The bar was dark inside, as was to be expected, and populated with a circus of creatures far more exotic and gritty-looking than the cantina scene from Star Wars. However, there were no dancing girls or music playing, just the deafening cacophony of discordant alien voices and the clinking of glasses on wooden tables. There was also a thick haze in the air. The smoke smelled vaguely familiar, yet combined with alien sweat and breath, the pleasant scent was easily lost in the toxic mix. Alien and human took seats near the center of the room, at a table with one of the small blood-sampling boxes affixed to its center. Kaylor poked his finger inside, pulled it out, and then rotated the box over to Adam. Without protest, Adam let the box take a sample. In a few moments, a waiter came over and Kaylor ordered drinks for the two of them. Adam was also starving, but he didn't mention the fact to Kaylor. Drinking alien liquor was one thing. Eating alien food was a whole other subject. Adam scanned the room, fascinated by the new reality he was experiencing. In a far corner, he noticed a group of the skinny gray creatures like those aboard the big ship, the ones who ended up getting fried by space pirates during the battle for the huge flying saucer. There were 6 of them, all huddled together and looking nervous. Not far from the tiny gray creatures sat another group of patrons. 4 huge lizard-like beings, all dressed in black leather and wearing bandoliers across their barrel chests. Even from where he sat, Adam could hear them carrying on, obviously drunk and with the numerous empty glasses covering their table giving testimony to their state of inebriation. There's some in every crowd, Adam thought, the loud and arrogant drunks. Adam turned to Kaylor, who wasn't paying attention to the room. Instead, his gaze was fixated on another creature seated at the bar, a being of the same race as he, yet smaller and with smoother features. Adam watched as Kaylor's nostrils flared, sniffing the air.
"Stay here. I will be back,"
the alien stated as he stood from his chair. Kaylor then made a beeline toward the other alien at the bar. Adam watched transfixed as the 2 members of Kaylor's species met and began a strange, rather obscene ritual. It was kind of creepy, as they smelled each other up and down before rubbing their necks together, making contact with the inch-long fingers of skin dangling from under their ears. Then it really got weird. Kaylor undid his pants. The female turned her back to him, while Kaylor grasped her waist and attempted to mount her, right there in the bar. Before the pair could get too engrossed, the bartender came over and angrily yelled something at them. Frantically, the 2 alien lovebirds hurried out the front door, leaving Adam sitting at the table alone, confused and more than a little embarrassed. Holy crap. What was he supposed to do now, just sit there or follow? With no experience to guide him, Adam attempted to look as nonchalant as possible, propping one arm up on the back of his chair and crossing his legs. When the bartender brought the drinks, Adam quickly snatched up his glass and took a long, healthy swig, expecting a cola-tasting drink like he had aboard Kaylor's ship. Instead, tears welled up in his eyes as the potent liquid, tasting of pure alcohol, blazed a trail of fire all the way down to his stomach. Adam tried not to choke. That would have completely destroyed the air of masculinity he was trying to convey. Instead, he blinked several times and swallowed hard to dispel any lingering traces of the demon liquid from his throat. When he had somewhat recovered, the human continued to scan the room with a silly grin on his face, as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. The alligator-like creatures in the corner caught his attention again, this time as a frail, rodent-looking thing passed too close to their table. The big lizard in the middle reached out and grabbed the rodent's tail and pulled, causing the big rat to fall back into the group. The lizards feigned anger and slapped at the rat's head several times before the biggest of the bullies kicked the rodent back into the room, sending him crashing into an empty table nearby. The other lizards laughed hysterically, canceling out all other sounds in the room. Penitently, the abused rat rose to his feet, righted the table, and then scurried off without comment or a glance back at his tormentors. It was then that Adam noticed the dominant lizard was staring at him. Their eyes locked for a moment, before Adam looked away quickly. A few seconds later, he chanced to glance back, only to find the lizard was still staring at him, a slight grin now curling the edges of the creature's elongated snout. It was getting uncomfortable in the bar, especially without Kaler there to narrate the scene. It was with infinite relief that Adam saw Kaler re-enter the tavern a few minutes later. When seated, Adam leaned forward.
What was that all about?
The confused look returned to Kaler's face before understanding swept over his pale blue features.
You mean the mating? Does your species not mate?
Of course we do, but not so fast and in public. At least not as a rule. Who was she?
I do not know,
Kaler said dismissively, lifting his drink and taking a gulp.
It does not matter. We see so few of our species out here that we need to take advantage of all encounters.
So you just jump each other whenever you meet, just like that?
I do not see why you are so shocked. If another of your species showed up, you would do the same.
Adam had to think about that for a moment, but he was distracted from his thoughts when he noticed the large lizard-like creature was still staring at him.
Who are those things in the corner? One of them keeps staring at me.
Kaler didn't look over as his voice tensed.
They are Rigorians. I would not engage with them. They are the meanest, strongest creatures in the Fringe. Their clan is the largest and the most widespread, and they know it.
Yeah, they seem like real assholes.
Graphic, but accurate. Just be careful around them. They know they are the top of the order here.
Adam looked over at the lizard. Concerned that his furtive glances might be sending the wrong signal, Adam decided to defuse the situation before it got out of hand. Kaler was still talking.
But Adam, whatever you do,
Adam flashed a big, toothy grin at the lizard.
Never bare your teeth at them. They consider that a death challenge.
The big lizard angrily jumped to his feet and marched over to Adam's table. Standing a good 7 feet tall, the yellow eyes and long snout were truly intimidating. Adam leaned back in his chair, looking up at the towering beast.
You, tiny creature, do you challenge me?
No, I don't. It was just a misunderstanding.
Adam blurted, his voice cracking as he spoke.
Yes, you did challenge me. There is no denying it. Therefore, I challenge you.
The tavern fell silent as Adam stood up slowly, trying not to spook the lizard any more than he already was.
Listen, buddy, I don't want to fight you. As I said, it was just a misunderstanding. I didn't know smiling was a death challenge around here.
The Rigorian placed his hand on the butt of this weapon. Then, noticing Adam was unarmed, he cocked his head toward Kaler.
Give him your weapon.
When the purple-skinned alien began to unbuckle his holster without so much as a word of protest, Adam sent Kaler a look as if to say, "What the fuck?" Then he handed the holster to Adam.
What are you doing? I'm not going to fight this thing.
But you have been challenged.
Kaler stated without emotion.
You will either fight, or he has a right to shoot you dead where you stand.
Adam raised his eyebrows.
No shit? So either I fight, or I die. That's not much of a choice.
Taking a deep breath, Adam reluctantly took the holster and strapped it around his waist. At least this was something he was familiar with. A weapon at the ready and an enemy before him. This was basic, and it was a skill he'd spent years honing to perfection, as only a Navy SEAL could do. The lizard turned and walked back to his group as the space between them was cleared of patrons and tables. There was more chatter in the room as the reality of the situation spread rapidly throughout the bar. There was even some betting going on. Adam didn't want to know what odds he was getting, but he was sure they weren't good. The human then moved out from behind the table, giving himself a clear line of sight to the Rigorian. Kaler moved up beside him and removed the weapon from the holster.
Have you ever fired an MK-17 before?
Adam shook his head.
Of course you have not.
Kaler said sourly. The alien then displayed the weapon to him.
You must follow this procedure in order to fire the MK. First, withdraw the weapon from the holster, Then bring it level. When the targeting computer has locked on, you will feel a slight vibration in the grip. At that point, you can press the trigger and your target will be struck. The weapon has been set at level 1. That is the maximum setting. It will produce a concentrated plasma bolt. However, you will only have 5 shots per charge. Earlier, when I shot you, it was set at level 2. That produced a larger, more diffused bolt, but it gives the shooter 10 shots instead of 5. You will need a level 1 bolt to kill the Rigorian, and you will also need to be very precise with your targeting.
He returned the weapon to the holster and then stepped away. Then, as an afterthought, he stepped forward again and raised his arm.
Be it on notice. This is my weapon. I will be reclaiming my property after the challenge is satisfied.
Adam leaned in towards Kaler.
You don't sound too confident about my chances.
Kaler simply shrugged and then moved away, putting more distance between Adam and himself. Adam now turned his attention to the Rigorian. He was about to ask how this was supposed to go down, when suddenly the lizard's hand moved quickly toward his gun. The Rigorian grasped the grip and began to draw the weapon from the holster. "Oh shit! It's happening!" Without thinking, Adam reached down and withdrew the MK-17 from the holster. The weapon was light in his hand, and in a single move he aimed it at the lizard while instinctively depressing the trigger in one fluid movement. With a flash, a brilliant ball of blue light shot out of the business end of the weapon, impacting the left shoulder of the Rigorian and spinning him sideways. Adam fired again. This time the shot struck the thick neck of the alligator, nearly severing the head from the torso. There was another movement. The Rigorian to his right had his weapon out and was bringing it to bear on Adam. Shifting his aim slightly, the human let loose with another shot. This one found its target center mass in the lizard's chest and took the creature out with a single bolt. Not taking any chances, Adam swung the weapon to the left, lining it up on the other 2 Rigorians. Each had hands on their weapons, but they pulled them away quickly as they stared down the barrel of Adam's lethal alien ray gun. It was only then that Adam felt a slight vibration coming from the grip of the MK-17. He chuckled, an expression that made the 2 surviving Rigorians shiver from fright. The fight had lasted less than 3 seconds, and only now the computer was telling him it was okay to fire.
Take off your holsters.
Adam demanded of the 2 remaining Rigorians.
Why would we do that?
One of the Rigorians asked.
We are not taking.
Adam rushed forward before jamming the barrel of his gun into the neck of the taller, defiant lizard.
Take off your goddamn weapons, or I'll take off your heads. Your choice.
In unison, the Rigorians unbuckled their holsters, letting them fall to the floor.
That's better. Now, get the hell out of here,
Adam ordered.
And if I see you on the streets, I will shoot first and ask questions later.
Without looking back at the fallen and bloody piles of flesh that were their dead companions, the surviving Rigorians dashed from the tavern. Adam picked up the 2 sets of weapons. When he turned back to the room, it was graveyard quiet and with dozens of pairs of wide eyes staring at him. Taking advantage of the stunned fear, Adam returned to his table, lifted his drink and threw it down in a single gulp. He then turned to a stunned Kaler.
Pay up. We're leaving.
Outside, in the early evening glow, Adam and Kaler walked silently back toward the spaceport. Kaler didn't ask for his weapon back and chose to stay a half pace behind Adam on the way to the landing field. Entering the ship, Kaler retracted the loading ramp and secured the door, after which the pair made their way to the common room. As they entered, GM turned from his computer console and nearly fell off the chair when he saw Adam.
What is he doing here?
The bear-like alien blurted. Kaler silenced him with a firm shake of his head. Adam was so jacked up that he didn't sit down. Instead, he dropped the 2 sets of weapons on the table and began to pace between the couch and the table.
I didn't want to fight him. You know that,
he said to Kaler.
Fight? Fight who?
A confused Jim asked. Kaler stood near the doorway. He ignored his shipmate's question.
It was an unfortunate set of circumstances, but you had no choice.
Regaining some of his nerve, Jim pressed the subject.
What did he do? You've only been gone about 2 hours.
The human just killed 2 Rigorians in a death challenge at Jake Lena's tavern.
He did what? That's impossible.
Jim glared at Adam.
No, it is not,
Kaler countered.
It was the most remarkable thing I have ever seen. And then after the death challenge, he disarmed 2 other Rigorians and forced them to leave the tavern in exchange for their lives.
Stepping forward, Kaler held out his hand to Adam.
Let me have the weapon.
Adam stopped pacing and looked into Kaler's dark eyes. A tense moment passed between them before Adam began to unbuckle the holster.
No, keep the holster on,
Kaler said. Surprised, Adam obeyed and handed the weapon to the alien. Taking the MK-17, Kaler popped the power cartridge out of the handle and handed the weapon back to Adam.
Let me see you draw the MK again. It is disarmed, so just draw and shoot, as you did before.
Doing his best John Wayne imitation, Adam whipped the gun out of the holster and pulled the trigger, shooting from the hip as all the quick draw artists did. An audible gasp squeaked from Jim.
What's the big deal?
Adam asked.
I've always had pretty quick reactions and I'm a damn good shot. It's my job.
After a moment, Kaler answered.
You should not be able to do that. I have never seen anyone draw a weapon as fast as you. Also, you did not use the targeting computer. How is it that you can strike a target without assistance?
Adam laughed.
Yeah, that part you told me did make sense. If I have a shot, I'm going to take it. Why wait for a computer to tell you when to shoot?
Kaler persisted.
Aiming takes precision and quick targeting even more. The sooner you stabilize the weapon, the faster the lock. But you did not wait.
Even Scalota squirms get lucky now and then,
Jim pointed out. Adam had no idea what a Scalota squirm was.
That is true. But what I witnessed was not luck.
Adam thought he knew what was going on. He was a stranger in a strange land, and they did things differently here.
Sorry to disappoint you, but where I come from, we don't use targeting computers on our handguns. We do with missiles and things like that, but not with handguns or rifles. Besides, the damn lizard was only about 20 feet away. I'd have to be blind to miss at that range.
There was a long moment of silence in the room as alien and human eyes locked on each other, and then Jim coughed.
I do not mean to spoil the moment, but what about the salvage?
Kaler was relieved by the change of subject.
It has been registered. We are to go back tomorrow at day 4 for the final inventory and receipt.
And him.
Jim nodded toward Adam, who was practicing drawing the MK-17 and getting faster every time.
The registrar said he could not help Adam get back to his planet. So I said he could stay on with us until the owners show up for the reclaim, or the final verdict on the salvage is rendered. The hope is that the owners can tell him where his homeworld is located.
But that could be many sim cycles from now.
Jim protested.
You mean he is to remain here for all that time? You can clearly see how dangerous this thing can be.
I told him he could only stay for 2 sim cycles.
Hey, I'm right here in the room.
Adam stated.
We will put him to work, doing something. But I could not leave him on planet without resources.
Kaler continued, ignoring Adam.
It looks as if he can take care of himself.
That is true. If killing is an occupation.
Adam turned toward the arguing aliens.
Listen up, you two. I won't be any trouble, I promise. I'm a hard worker and a fast learner, and I appreciate everything you've done for me so far. But I just need a little time to figure out what I'm going to do.
He took a few steps toward the tiny bear-like creature.
You have to remember, Jim, from my perspective, it's only been about a day since I was back home, on my planet, and without having ever dreamed that I'd be here and going through all this shit.
The human leaned over the seated alien.
Besides, this is your reality, not mine. It takes a little getting used to. So, how about it, Jim? Why don't you cut me some slack?
Jim recoiled from Adam as the diatribe grew more impassioned. Now the alien recovered slightly.
That is understandable, Adam Cain, even as I am not used to someone disturbing our routine. However, if Kayla wishes you to stay, then it is surely the same for me.
That's better,
Adam said forcefully.
Now, can we all try to get along?
And with that last plea, Adam took off the holster and handed it to Kaler. But then he gathered up the 2 other weapons he'd taken from the Rigorians and headed down the spine corridor to his stateroom. He had a lot of thinking to do, and he would feel better doing it with a couple of loaded weapons at his side. Adam Cain knew his current situation wasn't going to be resolved overnight. He was stranded somewhere in outer space, in a galaxy populated with a whole menagerie of exotic alien creatures, some friendly, most hostile. But already he could see that humans had certain advantages. It was almost as if humans were the supermen in this alien universe. Adam was definitely faster and stronger than the creatures around him, and more durable as well. Hell, he'd already taken a shot from one of their flash weapons and lived to talk about it. In fact, all it did was piss him off. And that was another issue. Adam Cain had never been that even-tempered. His call sign in the Navy SEALs was BA, standing not for badass but rather for bad attitude. The tiny bear-like creature Jim had called Adam the alien in the room, so it fit that he would now become the alien with an attitude. And as Adam returned to his room and shut the door, he decided that he would wear the label with pride. Besides, Adam Cain, the alien with an attitude, had a nice ring to it. Unfortunately, looking at his immediate prospects, Adam knew he'd have a lot of opportunities to express his displeasure at being lost in space and in a universe full of soft, slow, and smelly aliens. This is an excerpt from the Fringe Worlds, Book 1 of the Human Chronicles Saga, by T.R. Harris. You can find the complete book and series on Amazon.com, click the link in the description, or search T.R. Harris on Amazon. You can also check out my website at bytraharris.com. All material on this channel is original and written by author T.R. Harris. Copyright by Tom Harris Creations, LLC.